We're so pleased to welcome guest mentor Mary and Chetta, along with returning mentors Mayhan, Deirdre Morgan. Our theme for today is the survival in the modern world, the art of business, licensing, and beyond. So making your music work far beyond the stage, learning the business of making music for film and TV, discovering how to license your music, and creative approaches to business to get your sounds, your songs, and your name on the worldwide stage. So getting back to our session, I'm going to first introduce our guest mentor, Mary Chetta. She's a Vancouver-based composer, keyboardist, and producer with a long list of project credits that include 2 Juno nominations, and she evolved playing in bands as a teen and started composing at an early age, and then getting a BA in music from McMaster University. Her performances have taken her to Singapore, China, Japan, Vietnam, Dubai, Hong Kong, Qatar, Europe, Taiwan, Australia, Bermuda, and across the US. She's opened for John Mayer, Bjork, Ziggy Marley, Buffy Sainte-Marie, and A Tribe Called Red, and many others. Mary's film and TV credits include America's Next Top Model, Godivas, The L Word, Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, Ripley Underground, Snowpiercer, and The Tiny Pretty Things, to name a few. Oh my goodness, I'm exhausted just reading that list of credits. Welcome, Mary.
Thanks so much for having me. It's a real treat. This is actually my first emergence as well. I did try and join some of the previous ones. I was trying to join leading up to this, but timing and just schedule didn't permit. So I think something like this is really important, to share. I'm happy to be here as a female musician in the industry and composer, and to share my experiences. Hopefully there's something that you all can get out of it. And, I feel like there's no reason we shouldn't be helping each other and working together, to find out, asking the right questions, and everyone has a different experience. So, I'm happy to share a little bit of my experience. Especially, in the current time period. And, I've had the honor of playing on some of these stages internationally. At this moment, those stages don't exist, they may exist in different realms, but the way that we know it, they don't exist. So it is a real factor and a real question to go, we're an artist, we're creating music. How do we get, that music out there in some shape or form? We're all artists. This pandemic's going on for way longer than I feel like at least anything that I could have anticipated. So now we're looking for other avenues, to release music, to interact. There's no jamming. There's a lot of rules in place. So in terms of that and the modern world, I guess I've been looking at, what are the platforms? I'm not active on all of them, but we're aware of them. But it's always how can we utilize them to our advantage, right? And what do we do that's unique, that can get the word out there and to potentially have more followers, right? So then when we have the music that we want to release, or license, there's a following. So using Instagram, I have found, at least during COVID for me, has been the biggest one. Facebook, just through all my travels on my personal page, I kind of ran out of just being able to add people. So I did create a business page on my Facebook, which I kind of just put off for a long time. But then eventually I thought, okay, it's nice to just have a very specific platform for business, and it's not personal context, it's just for my music. But Instagram has been the biggest thing that I've been using during the pandemic. I think, once it started, I play with Indigenous artists named Isque. We were just about to fly to the Junos, and then I think it was announced that there was a pandemic the same day, so our flights, everything was canceled. And, after whatever that, week long, however it takes, for people to digest what's happening, I guess I made a bit of a pivot and really invested more onto my Instagram page. And I think for me, the idea was just in general, putting out consistent content, right? Again, it's within your means of whatever you can do. You know, I get some people have good days and bad days. If I'm having a better day, maybe I have a little extra time, maybe I'd make two pieces of content that day, but I'd spread them out over time. And collaborations, I think, has been the big thing for me over the past 3 or 4 months. You know, it's given me the opportunity to reach out to different people that I've always wanted to work with, you know, and just put myself out there. Sometimes people aren't interested, you know, sometimes people are too busy, but the ones that do say yes, it's been a really nice collaboration for me of working with different musicians. Some I've never actually played before. So just to quickly say the process, I send them some audio and some video. They record that and send it back to me. And then we kind of have, you know, two different videos playing at the same time. If someone's interested in that later, I can get into a little bit more of how I'm doing that. But different collaborations. I've been collaborating with different dancers. I see Vanessa on here, who's someone that I've just recently collaborated with, her and Josh, with movement, and she had some spoken word. So yeah, it's given me the opportunity to maybe reach out into some other places that I wouldn't think that there would be some opportunities, you know. And oddly enough, during the pandemic, you know, I don't want to assume that everyone has more time, you know, what they have on their plate, but some people do have a little bit more time than normal. And, you know, I certainly have found some opportunities have come from that. So, and just to jump over to hit some of the topics, I guess licensing is a big thing that I've been doing, you know, I'd say over the past 15 or more years, getting my songs placed in different shows. And I feel like with the pandemic happening and, you know, just the unsurety of when live music will come back, I think licensing is definitely an avenue for any artist to, you know, it's so much more content that people are watching and streaming these days, that licensing through the various ways, music supervisors, and as well as different music libraries, I think have been the main, you know, another stream of revenue that we can consider, you know, as artists. And yeah, I've been lucky enough to do that through different music supervisors as well as music libraries, who in turn will act as a publisher and help you get your songs out there to different shows. I've had some songs in the L Word, to a Kit Kat commercial, to various things. So,
you know, you piqued my curiosity because I've heard that before. Getting into commercials and music libraries is a good way of establishing a commercial practice.
Yeah, there's definitely ways, and I look at it as, you know, you're not going to make all the money overnight, but I'm in the long-term game, right? I think with anything, I'm casting a wide net. I feel like in general, I can apply that practice to everything, and I'm diversifying. So meaning when I'm playing my live gigs, because I'm also a session musician, I'm playing with, you know, I'm the lucky person that gets to play. You know, I see some of the people on this, you know, in this meeting, you know, today, you know, Jesse, Susanna, Roxanne, these are people that I've gotten to play with and part of the community, right? So I think in that sense, it's allowed me to be diverse. So when I get a call, I don't have all my eggs in one basket, right? I mean, I know that's not for everyone, but when I get a call, you know, I'm getting different calls from different artists that I work with. So in terms of, you know, licensing, you know, ideally the music supervisor for me is the ideal situation. I realize everyone's trying to get a hold of them, you know, but ideally, if you have songs, material that you feel would be strong in a show, you know, you can find these people, and people are reachable, you know, with the internet, but I think you want to do your research, right? You want to, if you go on to IMDb, you know, shows are shooting, you can look up, it'll say all the different productions that are shooting. And by the time they get to post-production, once they finish shooting, you can look up. So the music supervisor, if you go into full cast and credits in IMDb, there's always a music supervisor for every show, you know, and maybe you watch a show and you say, my music would be perfect in this, right? And then you hear that they're having a second season. So it's, you know, you can just put your stuff out there, but it's nice to be able to put your material out there with intent, knowing this is what, you know, I can't write every style strongly. You know what you do, and you know that your music would fit into that show, right? So that would be the first step, doing some research, you know, having the confidence to go, yeah, I know, you know, and you can look at their past shows. Maybe, you know, they work on other shows that might be accessible to you. So when a music supervisor puts your songs into their show, they're also not taking a cut. So to me, again, this is the ideal situation. They're getting paid from the production, so they're not taking any cut from you. And they're clearing it and everything, but yeah, they're already getting paid. So, you know, you want to have everything in place by the time you get that email that says, you know, Mary, we want your song in this, you want to have everything in place. So some things that would be is, I've been using, there's a platform, I haven't used it yet, called Disco, that people are using to pitch. That seems to be the platform of choice. I honestly haven't used it yet, but all my friends have been using it. Another one that I've been using that my friend that Jay turned me on to was SongSpace. So you can have your songs in there, you can upload them, and then you can create a pitch for a very particular music supervisor, and you can create a customized link that you're sending to Bob, who does this show. So the idea with that is, it's not, you're not attaching a file, never attach a file to any music supervisor. No one wants that. If you imagine thousands of people getting links, you know, or attachments. So they want a link that's easy to listen to, they can stream, but that they can potentially also download. And the good thing with SongSpace, and I think Disco does that too, is that you can follow that link. So if I send something to Joe, I want to follow up, you know, you really have to follow up. But I know it tells me if he's listened to it or not. It tells me if someone's clicked on that link, if he's listened to it, maybe he's downloaded it. It also even tells me where they are, oddly, in the world. It'll say California, you know, Joe in California, listen to this. So then when you follow up, you know they've already listened to it, and you can go from there. But I like that kind of tracking way that you know, that can happen. And I know, yeah, just how to follow up, I guess, basically, right? Whether they've listened to it or not.
Wonderful. That sounds like a really good way of using technology to, you know, put a standard set of tracks out there, or you know,
yeah, and you can also track what you've.
Yeah.
Sometimes you forget what you've sent out. You know, I know I've done it. So, you know, you don't want to send something the same thing twice to someone, right? So that's one way. And then it's also metadata is a big thing. So those are all the links that come with your track that you want to. I use a program called Metadatics. I think it was maybe like $8 or something, but you can attach all the things that they would like to know, just the basic things for your file. So, you know, you want to make sure, obviously, your composer name, if you're a co-writer, any splits that you have. When they open it up, it's going to be right there. Sometimes they just bring it right into their playlist, and they want to have all the information there. You don't want to get a license and they're trying to track you down because they don't know which track this is. They would like sometimes tempo, you know, just more BPM. Sometimes they like that. You know, slow, is it medium or fast? Just a very general. Vocals, are there vocals or not? And if there are vocals, they often want an instrumental mix, just as an option, right? It doesn't mean you'll still get paid if they license your song out, But depending on the scene, they might want an instrumental mix. And what else? I'd like to put my contact email number, my SOCAN number as well, so my Songwriting Pro. And yeah, those are the main things that I like to put. And sometimes they like to know, and generally, who is an artist that you sound like. They're always, you know, maybe if you don't sound 100% like that, but they just want to go, okay, what is the style? They want to know, you know, if someone says, I need singer-songwriter, or I need, you know, reggae or dancehall or EDM, they know they can go right to you and they can attach it to a style and a genre.
Wonderful, wonderful. We've got a lot of questions yet for you, Mary. So before we get too far down into the details, I'd like to give the other mentors a chance to introduce themselves and to introduce the topic as well. So thanks so much, Mary.
Thank you.
Next, we've got Dr. Mayhan. Mayhan is a rare blend of performer and scholar, specializing in the Chinese zheng, the zither, the parent instrument of the Asian long zither family. Recognized internationally as an authority and virtuoso on the zheng, May's career spans Asia, Africa, Europe, and North America. May presents music deeply rooted in over 2,000 years of Chinese culture, with traditional and groundbreaking contemporary works that demonstrate the zheng as a serious instrument of expression for the international concert stage. May is the leader of the internationally touring ensemble Red Chamber. May is the founding director of the Center for Chinese Music and Culture at Middle Tennessee State University. And welcome back, May.
Hi everybody. Well, glad to be back. And I wanted to point out a few general principles in terms of business of artistic creation. And some of you wrote in your bio saying, oh, I'm passionate about making arts, about making music. And that is very, very important. That is the essence of artistic creation. That is the drive for us as individual artists to move forward. However, the reality is the business part is a lot larger in this combo of creation. If I want to put a number out there, and not necessarily the same for everybody, but I would say 30 or 20 to 30% is about your art, and 70 to 80% is business. So that proportion is so unbalanced. You know, as artists, we want to create, we want to perform, we want to deliver our art pieces, but without business, you just can't get there. So I would say one is that have a big goal, long goal, especially as young artists, you have a long way to go. And not to stop your eyes in front of you. Okay, I want to get into that bar. I want to perform in this festival. These are all important, but also at the same time, set a long goal. At the same time, have a specific plan, how I get there step by step, so you're not overwhelmed. That's the first thing. And the second is planning. Planning is the key to success. We probably all know about this because luck never visits people who are not prepared. So you got to be prepared. So what are the things you need to look at as part of your business? Your performance. So performance venues, what are the possibilities I can get in that for my music, you know, it's not one hat, it's many hats. I can fit into this market, this venue, that. So you give yourself a list of things that you can perform. And the second is planning your recording. You know, at what time I want to release what. That list is also important. So that keep you on track to to produce and to release new material. And the third, Mary mentioned that, is collaboration. Collaboration is almost like a lens and arm for your artistic creation. You have something, and other artists have something, and together this possibility increases tremendously and in many folds that brings all kinds of possibilities. So in doing that, I think sending your stuff out to people that you like their way of, their stuff, and that might something could happen. So sending your materials to people that have a possibility to collaborate with you, that's something to think about. And touring, at this point we don't have touring opportunities, but I just hope in the very near future, in the year, the market will come back, then you will have opportunities to continue to tour. So as musicians, summer touring is the main income source. So what related to touring, as an example, what you need, which is also for anything else, is one, you have to have your promotional material ready, and two, you have to have a networking. So you probably not the first time you apply for a festival or a concert venue, then you will get selected. And three is that you need to write grants. A lot of artists, especially in Canada, rely on grants. Later, I want to just touch a little bit right now, is that your bookkeeping, because I talked about grant. So the money part is important, and how you spend, and you need to have updated bookkeeping as part of your business. That's also very important. And data filing, and in terms of years and the categories and the contact and these filing is important. So it's easier for you to go back to find the information that you need, and also use of technology. So I want to go back a little bit to a promotion. First and foremost right now is a promotional page on social media, and that page needs to be, first and foremost, look professional. You probably need to spend a little bit of money, have somebody professional to design it for you, but at the same time, probably it's better for you to be able to keep it update, so you don't have to continue to put money onto somebody else's pocket, and then you need to be able to do that yourself. And also the look of this web page needs to be clean, easy to find stuff, easy to navigate. You want to centralize what you want people to see. It's either your bio or your music video, and if it's your photo, people will see immediately what you're doing. If it's a singer or if it's an instrumentalist, you don't want to have a beautiful face shot, but people don't know what you're doing. So it's at this point, as Mary mentioned, people who buy, they have no patience. They have tons of things to look through. If within the 3 seconds, first 3 seconds, your material is not attractive enough, then you're gone. So that's very competitive. So the promotional page is very important. And I think networking in the industry, not only with other artists, but also with presenters, artistic directors, music supervisors. Yeah, it's like any business, it's people to people. The relationship needs to be built and solidified through a long-term connection. If you have something and send it to, for instance, a festival director, and you may not get respond right away. Usually they don't, and frequently, but not too often, frequently have a gentle nudge, send an email. Hey, this is the, have you seen this? And I hope and I hope one day to have opportunity to meet you and to perform in your festival. Just put a few personalized sentences. That message usually goes a long way. In my 25 years career in North America, I have made friends with quite a few festival presenters and concert promoters, not through just one time or first met them in the showcase, but through consistent email correspondence. But as I said, you don't want to sound pushy. That line is very subtle.
Great information to build your foundation of your practice with. I'll introduce Deirdre, a virtuoso and scholar. Deirdre Morgan has been a powerful force in the revival of Jew's harp internationally. Although treated as a novelty instrument in the West, the Jew's harp has a centuries-old tradition as a voice of what is traditionally unheard, from the emotional to the spirit world. Dr. Morgan is an important figure in the research, preservation, and contemporization of the Jew's harp within the international music and scholarly community. Dr. Morgan holds a PhD in ethnomusicology and is currently a sessional lecturer in music at Simon Fraser University and Vancouver Community College. She also works in gender studies inside and outside of the music community. And welcome back, Deirdre.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to hold up the Jew's harp so you all can see what it actually is. It's one of these things. It's not Jewish and it's not a harp, also known as a jaw harp or a mouth harp, and it's a little mouth resonated instrument. You play overtones on it, kind of similar to a didgeridoo. So thank you so much, Catherine, for the introduction, and thank you to Mary and May for your first thoughts on this really, really wide-ranging topic that we're tackling today, the topic of business. So I want to pick up a bit where May left off, talking about relationships in business, and particularly long-term relationships, and the fact, and Mary also mentioned that the art of business is a long game. This is not an instant gratification thing where you're going to have overnight success. Most people don't. But in that sense, it is similar to being a musician anyway, because nobody has overnight success on being able to play an instrument or being able to sing really well. These are long, slow, painstaking years of our lives that we invest deeply into getting somewhere. And so the business end of things is similar to that. It's similar to getting good at an instrument in that you're not just going to be able to do it in a week. So having some patience and having strategy and having persistence, like May suggested, is, I agree, all very, very important. So I want to talk to you in my first sort of idea here about social media. Again, that has come up with the previous two mentors. So social media, the number of people using social media has at least doubled during the pandemic. And that is really, really significant, because before, our audiences might have been in a variety of places, right? They might have been in live music venues, for example, but that has really, really shifted. So during this time, a lot of our business has actually moved to social media. And a lot of our business has shifted into audience development and community building through social media. And this is where I think it's really important to highlight that there's a major human element to business. I think as artists, we hear words like business and marketing and networking. We almost hear those as dirty words because, like May said, we almost resent the fact that we have to spend at least the same amount of our time on business activities as we do on artistic activities. Most of us come to this not because we want to sell, we come to this because we want to create. So that philosophically, spiritually can feel, the business end of things can feel really forced for us. Many artists don't come naturally born with the business skills built in, but no human being does, right? This is all skills that can be learned. And what I want to suggest is that this human element to business that is so heightened through all these extra audience and potential collaborators being on social media now is that you can't just be selling all the time, right? So if you treat the people around you, the people in your spheres of influence as a means to an end, they're going to pick up on that, right? It's not all about business, and marketing is not all about what other people can do for you. It's also about what you can do for them and for the wider community. So I want to introduce you to this great concept that I got from, she's actually a social media influencer. She's on Instagram. Her handle is @glowgraphics. And I'll just put that in the chat for you all. I just want to give her the credit for this concept that I'm going to share with you. So she was a travel blogger before the pandemic, and she's had to pivot a lot, as have we all. She's not a musician, but she put up this little video that was called Serve versus Sell. And I thought that it was really amazing. So she was saying that not all of your content on social media can be sales, right? So she actually drew a chart. She got a whiteboard, and you can do this with a piece of paper. You can even start doing it right now as we're having this meeting. Take a piece of paper, draw a line, vertical line down the center. On one side of that line, you put serve, and on the other side of that line, you put sell. On the serve side is all of the content that you have to offer that is offered freely from you. It's service to your community. So that can include things that are entertaining, right? What kind of things can you share that are entertaining, that you're not asking people to spend money on? Maybe it's behind the scenes footage of you at rehearsal or practicing, or maybe it's a short clip of a new composition you're working on, a new arrangement, a new production, something like that. So that's the entertain category. Think about what kinds of things might be entertaining. Even a blooper, right? Like something that's actually not polished and not professional. Social media doesn't actually have to be 100% polished at all times, because there is this human element to it. Your website should be super professional, like May was saying, but social media, there's room for a bit more of your personality to come through, right? So there's entertain, and then there's, in the serve category, there's also empower. So what is information or content that you can share that actually empowers your followers or the people in your audience or in your community? And that could be things like posts that are more on the honest side around struggles that you may be facing right now during the pandemic as an artist. That's sort of opening up and sharing more, again, more about process and sharing things that others are probably going to relate to. And that stuff can be quite scary to share because, again, we're always feeling like we have to be this perfect, really slick version of ourselves on the internet. But again, on social media, it's much more about connection. So think about what kinds of things might go in an empowered kind of content for you. And then the third category in serve is educate. So what special skills do you have that you can share for free? So this is not on the sales category. This is still on the free side. What information can you share with your community that is educational? And maybe it's a how-to video. Maybe you are really good with a particular type of software, and maybe you want to release a little clip or a how-to video or something like that. Anything that exists in your expertise, maybe a little instructional video for how to do something technical on your instrument. And it can be really short, right? Instagram videos, maximum 1 minute long. So these are really short, punchy. They're just little views into your life as a musician. And what this does is it helps people to see you as a human being who is engaged in a lot of different activities and not just someone who's always trying to sell to them. Because that is really off-putting, right? Especially right now because everyone's so saturated with people are trying to make money during the pandemic. So if you're coming across as always selling to your audience on social media, that's not going to work so well. So, and then on the sell side, that is the content that you are asking people to actually pay for. So again, you need to think about what is the stuff that has a cost. So if I have released a single, if I have released an album and people have to pay for a streaming subscription to stream it, or if I'm releasing it on Bandcamp and there's going to be a fee for people to download it, etc. Back in the days when we had live music and we had gigs were mostly ticketed. They were mostly not free, right? So gigs, ticketed performances would be in your sales category. And absolutely do promote those things. But just the point is, if you're only promoting those things all the time, it can make you seem very one-sided and like you're only ever wanting favors from other people to help you with your career. So it's, again, thinking about how do I give back and feed this community and grow this following a bit more organically. And my gosh, it is a lot of work. It really, really is. Again, it's a long-term strategy and it can be slow going in the beginning, but eventually you'll start to build some traction. So I think that's my first little opening strategy to think about.
Very wise.
I think one of the first questions was about Disco, and we did post the link, disco.info, breaking down the licensing process for people who've never entered this realm.
I think the first question is making sure, the first step, just making sure that the quality of your music, no matter what style it is at a high quality, right? Where it's not necessarily, maybe something you've thrown together or a demo, but that high quality doesn't mean necessarily that it's not something that you can't do at home, I've literally finished tracks at home and sent it to my contact. They said, oh, great, I can use it for this. They were working for something at the time. And, it doesn't always happen like that, but, within that day, I got a contract for that. So I think just whatever level that you're doing it on, making sure that it's of broadcast quality, right? Something that you're proud of and not just a demo, and I think the other question is, that I would ask myself is, what kind of artist am I, right? I used to do I still do my own original music, but I used to do my own, singer-songwriter type music, right? And I think the question is when you're, it takes a lot to write your own lyrics and to write your own music and to get your stuff recorded. So I guess my question is to you, if you're an artist that's, maybe only releasing a single or so many tracks, every few years maybe, right? You only have so many tracks that you're trying to place, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I think, I wouldn't want to do anything that's that's exclusive. So basically, you would want to deal with, I think, music supervisors, ideally, or there are music libraries out there that are very curated to artists, right? But the idea is, to me, I think you have to ask yourself, do you want to sign something that's exclusive or non-exclusive? So if I can expand on that, exclusive means you sign your tracks. These are the songs, 5 songs, your EP that you want to get placed. You sign over everything to this company. They're the only ones that can, they're your salesman, right? They're the only ones that can place it. If someone else wants your track, they're going to have to go through that company, right? So that's the idea of exclusive. Now that can work to your advantage if you're on a roster where, they really get what you do and they believe in you, and maybe there's not, some of these music libraries have millions of tracks. I mean, you know what I mean? Thousands and thousands of tracks. So you don't want to sign over your rights, exclusive rights, and then just get lost in the shuffle, right? And they're just sitting there when you could be placing it somewhere else. So I feel like, that's the question to ask yourself. How many tracks do you have, that you're releasing? So when I have tracks myself, as an artist that I'm a little bit more precious about, I don't want to sign them over as an exclusive agreement. When I have other tracks that I write with my songwriting partner, Dan, in a project called Cookie Cartel, we just write, remotely. I haven't seen him for maybe a year or so, maybe longer, I don't know, but we bang out, we probably have, I'd say at least 100 tracks or more, right? So these are tracks that we can do quickly, but because we both have a home studio and, we can still make some residuals and some money, but we're not as invested, in them as when they're your own tracks, you just put out your album, you don't want to just sign away those rights to just one company, I think,
So Mary, can you walk us through like a typical scenario when you first approached a licensing agency, and what happened? Like who bought your music, and how did you set up that business deal?
Sure. So a perfect example, I guess, would be a music supervisor that I still work with now here for Must Be Nice Productions, Natasha Dupre. So this is a contact. How did I meet her? I feel like just through the industry. I mean, I've been playing, she was doing, oftentimes music supervisors are doing multiple jobs. She was a manager, of some punk bands for years. But that would have been someone, back in the day, probably some of our first real licensing. At the time, we had sent her some music, and she was looking for some music for the L Word, for the beginning, for the real beginnings of the L Word. Again, and we were just making more of a connection. I'd seen her, around town and in the industry and at some events. But I think I eventually, I looked up the L Word. Again, I had done a little bit of research, but I had sent her some of the tracks. The other thing is, once you make contact, this is why a link is good. You want to ask them, each music supervisor is different. Sometimes, sometimes they want you, the files a very particular way. When you do reach out and reach contact, at least with a link, you can have everything there, but they might want, your MP3s and a 320 MP3s, or they might want WAV files. So it's, it's just that the different files, types of files that they might be.
Yeah.
Requesting.
Okay, and then different resolutions for different applications.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If the scene is more prominent, maybe they just want an instrumental version. We had a song in Snowpiercer on Netflix recently, and we had vocals. We had all these great vocals, and we had this MC, my friend that lives in Malaysia. But they just used the instrumental part, right? It's what they use. We all got paid regardless.
It looks like there's a tip from Lola. TuneFind lists the songs in the episodes of TV programs. So I posted a link to waveapps.com because somebody was asking about managing the business of being a musician. And Wave Apps is great. It's got a lot of functionality for the free version. Glow Graphics, at Glow Graphics is the Instagram handle for Deirdre's recommendation. The question from Jill is, for selling your music with a video, would it be a good idea to put a lyric video on YouTube and a full production video on Patreon?
I definitely think, a little lyric video, especially think, with the right song, I'm very visual. I feel like any kind of visuals, are definitely helpful. Patreon, my friends create content on there, but I think, you really have to have a certain audience, right? That's willing to invest and pay every month, right? Because you're getting access. Someone hasn't heard of Patreon, you're basically getting access to different performances and other things that everyone else doesn't get to see, right? Yeah. So I think Patreon is a great idea if you have an audience, for sure. I think if you're still building that audience, then to me, it's just better to get it out there, and to slowly build up your Patreon audience, and then maybe put more content on there.
Just elaborate on that a little bit. That's exactly right. So Patreon is a sell platform. It's on the sell side of the table, whereas YouTube is, well, YouTube's a bit complicated because you can monetize it. You can get advertising revenues and sponsorship revenues once you've reached a certain level. That level is quite up in the stratosphere in terms of the numbers of followers that you actually need on YouTube before it starts paying you. So for all intents and purposes, let's think of YouTube right now at the level that maybe most of us are at, as still in the free kind of zone. So one thing that I would suggest, Mandy, because what you're really talking about here is how to use the different platforms differently because they all exist for different reasons. I would think of, first of all, how many platforms you want to use, which ones, and in the beginning, don't use too many. So don't spread yourself too thin. Just to reiterate what Mary was saying there. So focus on YouTube to build the following first. And then eventually, once you're comfortable with that, to add Patreon as a paid optional other level where there's exclusive content, but that's for your really hardcore dedicated followers. But you need the followers first, right? So otherwise you're only going to have 3 people on Patreon paying you $2 a month, and you're going to be, grossing $6 a month, which is still better than 0, but right, it might not be the great business plan that you think it is in the beginning. So I would encourage you to think about using cross-platform promotion and using different accounts to funnel to different accounts. So if you want to build your YouTube, you would use your Instagram to give a little teaser of your YouTube video, the 1-minute version, or even a 30-second, and go the full videos on YouTube, and then you funnel that audience over to YouTube from Insta. And likewise, once you build up your YouTube enough, you can start using YouTube to funnel to Patreon. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I'm looking at the music as at a marketing standpoint, that you're not, I guess we just didn't want to give it all out. So if we were going to invest more money in a full production video, that we could do those teasers to pull people over, and that would help pay for the full production video. And then we could just have a lyric video on YouTube or whatever, like you said, to entice them to bring them in, and have it as a step process to kind of reel them in. I guess that's the goal. But like you said, May, I don't want to throw out red lights either, right? Because I know a lot of people don't necessarily always want to pay. So that's why I guess we're just looking for that balance of how do we get it out without using that dirty word exposure, but still making a little bit of money in the end. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to find that balance, I guess. So
I would think about the timing, maybe the timing of your release. And also if you have a video that you're happy with, either one, you could hit up different places to do a premiere, right? Sometimes they'll do some online places will do a premiere of your video before the day before. They'll highlight it right before the day before it comes out. So then they'll be able to cross market, some of their audience, and you'll be able to get some of that overflow, I think.
Okay, and just give them time to hear about it, I guess, spread the word.
Yeah. So they would do, my friends, I just played Amanda Sum. She just put out a really nice video for her EP, and then they had a premiere on a certain site where they premiered it before the release date, right? So then you felt like, oh, maybe it was just only a day or two, but you felt like, oh, this website is getting this exclusive content, to their audience a few days before the actual release comes out.
A question from Tarane. What do you pay attention to when you're writing your bio for your website? Do you have a strategy for that?
I think you wanted to have a one-liner that people can have immediate grasp of who you are, what you do. And that is important. And also be able to use this as a quote for promotional purpose if, say, an interview or any kind of newspaper or now online writing, they want to quote who you are, then you have that ready, then they just grab that. A lot of journalists don't want to create things for you, they want to grab stuff from you, and then that becomes somebody else said about you, and you can use it as a quote later, which works out. And in your bio, of course, your background was unique about you. For instance, I write my bio, I would include my childhood experience growing up during the Cultural Revolution. Especially in the West, people would relate to Cultural Revolution as cultural genocide, cultural desert, and the kind of idea behind the creativity is very, very different. So that is attractive to people. They want to read more. And of course, what kind of genre and your main genre, I'm a songwriter, but I also have this, just anything that you do should be included, and highlights on the career experience. I performed here and there, so these information also important.
So from Elise, how does one access these music libraries? That's a question to Mary. And then also, when you're reaching out to an artist in order to collaborate, how do you professionally present yourself? You mentioned you send them videos. Can you please elaborate on this? As a vocalist, I'd like to work with more electronic producers. Would you recommend vocal clips, the chords, mood idea? And thanks again.
Sure. Myself, I've just sent past collaborations, past videos on Instagram. I feel like they're short, they're 1-minute clips. Even if it's not a collaboration, that's fine. But just something that I feel comfortable, that represents what I do. I will send that, and yeah, I will just let them know. I think, there's nothing wrong with reaching out to people that you want to work with, and building your network and surrounding yourself with good people, So I tell them what it is that I enjoy, why I like their music and why I would like to work with them, and you can't take things personally, but I cast a net out there, and, you put yourself out there, and if people are busy or, whatever reason, it's no worries. But, I think something that represents what you do, and it's just nice to, let them know why, you could be reaching out to anyone, right? So, and, maybe I'm sure you have, people have lots to offer as well. So I think it's just nice to know what it is that you think would fit, would fit together with what you do, and I think these days people are quite open to collaboration,
And how do you get their attention? Like, sometimes you have to talk to agents and, other people. Like, would you try to get on the Twitter feed of the person or the Instagram of the person and try to have more of a direct line to that?
Yeah, I mean, these days there is a lot of a direct line. I think, depending on what works best, I feel like there's so many platforms. There's Twitter. Sometimes you can get on Instagram and get a feel for, not always, but whether if that's the actual person, that's actually running that account, or maybe they have a person. SoundCloud, I did upgrade my account to Pro. And for now, I've just been forwarding my website to there. But with the Pro, SoundCloud Pro, I can see what tracks have been played the most, and also where the location. So that's an interesting thing, just to think about audience and who. Even LinkedIn, I think maybe it seems a little old school, but LinkedIn is, just another format, I think. That, sometimes I've just, during the pandemic, there's been so many panels that I've just kind of hopped into, try and get some information, try and learn more from other people. And then, I've messaged people on all the platforms. I mean, you never know. But yeah, I think all of them are, I try one, I don't do them all at once, and then kind of wait to see if I hear anything,
Great. The next question we have from Mandy is about building your own website for a non-techie person. And one of the suggestions is Wix.com. Wix is very easy to use. The first year we built the Emergence website, we did use the Wix platform, so I can say that it works really well. I'd also recommend a very basic website builder called Weebly, and that's Weebly, Weebly.com. And another suggestion is Squarespace. Squarespace is great as well, especially if you have any like product and commerce. I know that there are a lot of e-commerce options built into that, the tools. So yeah, and then there are also calling card websites. About.me is just a simple one page. It's just, you get to put up a photo and then you can put up your bio. And if you have business cards, for instance, it's like a website business card. It's just a one pager. You can also list all your links on the About.me page. Reverb Nation, Mandy is asking what app artists are using to further promote themselves and their band. So Reverb Nation is one long established one. And it's a bit clunky, Mandy says. What are the cool kids using these days? Well, we mentioned SoundCloud, YouTube, and I guess
Bandcamp.
Bandcamp, yeah.
Bandcamp is a really big one. And during the pandemic, probably many of you know, they've been doing these days where they're offering all the proceeds of purchases within that 24-hour period will go directly to the artists without them taking their commission. So that kind of makes them, that sort of puts them at the front of the pack right now in terms of, I think, trying to be nice to artists and trying to, or at least appreciate artists a little bit more, because often on these streaming platforms, there's very, very little revenues actually end up back in the artists' hands.
Vanessa makes some great points about cross-platform promotion. Is a lot of these proprietary sites like Facebook and so forth only want you to look at Facebook content or Instagram content. You know, their other branded media. People have just said, you know, pick your medium and try to be consistent with that, and trying to, you know, include the links wherever you can. You don't know where your audience is going to be coming in from, but there are ways to group up your links. For instance, Linktree is one place to list all of your links, and Kickstarter, rallying fans and new eyes to help fund a passion project that you're 100% transparent on what that is, what it costs, and the full breakdown. So has anyone got experience with Kickstarter, using Kickstarter as a campaign to fund their passion projects?
Yeah, Susanna does. I played some keys on Susanna's album, and the whole album was it a Kickstarter or GoFundMe?
That was a GoFundMe campaign.
Yeah. Similar thing.
Yeah, they take a small percentage. To be honest, my wife is the one who was managing the campaign, as you know, Mary, so I don't know how much.
Yeah.
But we were able to raise over $7,500. Is a passion project, though. Is something pretty special. So people connected with the story, which I think it helped raise the money. And they also connected with the quality of musicians that were being involved in the project, like Mary and Mike and Dronce and Why Not. But yeah, it worked really well. You are responsible for those people who are putting that money towards your project, though. So there has to be a level of integrity when you're putting yourself out there asking for money to produce something for your own personal benefit. Like there has to be, for me, the money came because there was a return to their investment. They were invested in the project for personal reasons. There has to be a feedback that way. But it was very successful. So that's why I was able to hire you, Mary.
Was there a deadline on that? I can't recall,
There is no
cutoff date.
We created a deadline because we wanted the album to be released at a specific time.
Sure.
You don't have to, though, not with GoFundMe. I know that Kickstarter does have a deadline, that if you don't have the money by a certain time, because I have a friend of mine, an artist who used Kickstarter, if you didn't reach the goal by a certain time, the campaign would end automatically and you wouldn't get any money. So with GoFundMe, it can stay open for as long as you want. Mine is still open, even though we're not pushing anymore for any more money, because most of the expenses have been covered by the campaign.
And then there are incentives that you build in for subscribers. Is that right?
So honestly, we didn't. This album is a memorial to a friend of mine. I mean, a friend of mine started working on this album 11 years ago, 10 years ago, and he passed away. So I'm finishing it. So it was his, because they couldn't have a memorial, and because I wanted to finish the project because the music I considered to be brilliant. That was my platform, and what I am doing, not because I have to. The platform doesn't force you to do it. Anyone who donated more than $100 gets a CD copy of the album. But they didn't need the incentive. They were just they were connected to the project itself. I know with Kickstarter, they do that. Like they say, if you give so much, you can get that. And if you give this much, you can get that. I didn't do that. And GoFundMe didn't ask me to do that either.
Okay. And Suzanne, you were asking about pitching to music supervisors from other countries. So you started reaching out to Spanish production.
Yeah, it's actually, so for everyone, I mean, and Mary, please do correct me if I'm wrong. If you have a home studio like I do, and I know that I took another course on music licensing, and they say you can reach out to anyone in the world. Like, if you, and in a multicultural place like Vancouver, like we probably have connections elsewhere. Like I have connections in Latin America, I have connections in Spain. So I think that using that also as a way to branching out, because there are movies being filmed and TV shows being filmed everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that that's, like, for all of us, is a great option as well. And you can connect with them culturally. Like for me, I can write Latin music, so culturally that can help me connect. And the fact that I am here and I can do that from here is a great advantage to my product as a singer songwriter. You can sell your talents elsewhere. It doesn't have to just be here. I think now this virtual platform allows for us to sell our projects everywhere. What do you think, Mary?
Yeah, definitely. I think I've always thought, big picture and globally, and, a production. I think, if your song fits the scene, it fits the scene, right?
Yes.
If you don't hear anything back, it's no knock to your music, and to the quality of it. It's just, does it link with the images and the emotion of the scene, right?
Exactly.
But yeah, there's no reason that, I've always felt like that, I guess, whether we're traveling or not, that globally, and that's an industry that's already shooting, and I think that's just going to keep going. So yeah, there's no reason that we can't think a little bit more globally. Some of the places that I'm working with, they're not just here. I'm working with Natasha here, but then, I'm working with a company in Australia called Melody, or, Nightingale in Toronto. It doesn't really, at that point, with the internet and good quality recordings, and especially if you're able to be self-sufficient, if you're able to record tracks at home or with your friend, who has a studio on whatever level, there's no reason, I think, that you can't think about your business on a more global scale.
This has been like such a fast track, and we performed last night for the kickoff of Culture Day, so I'm so tired, but this was so worth getting up extra early on a Saturday for, and I'm so thankful for all of your knowledge and experience, and all the mentors and everyone that showed up today and all the days before. But that app, Catherine, for invoicing and everything, like I've been looking and looking, so thank you so much. Like my search is over for that. Thank you.
Wonderful.
I just want to say thank you to all of you guys, especially Mary, because she's been a great resource for a few questions that I had. I think the main takeaway for me is that I believe a lot of us are doing the right thing already. And I think that mainstreaming and cleaning up with all of the things that we've learned here is a good thing to do, like social media, and not spreading ourselves too thin, and kind of like really concentrating on the quality of the product that we're putting out there. I think it's important. So like the mentors have said, we can get the audience to follow us for the quality and the truthfulness of our product. And also I did a 5-day workshop on music licensing, and in these 2 hours I've learned more than I learned in those 5 days. So that you guys know that you're hitting something really special. So I'm very grateful for that. And yeah, thanks very much for it.
Go ahead, Jessie.
No, I just wanted to say thank you to all of you guys for showing up and like co-creating this energetic space of support and sharing. And I know often I can feel like a bit of an island. And I know I wanted to speak about Mary as well briefly, just because Mary has always reached out to me. Thank you, Mary. Just, you know, if I ever need help with something or, you know, a link to whatever, like she's, you know, it's awesome to have people in my community that will just reach back and, you know, make time and effort to try to make life a little bit easier. And so thank you for hosting this as well. It's been really nice to be part of the community.
I think the important thing to remember is, you know, to remember that we all have something to offer. You know, no one's creative voice is any more or less important. But I think it's a matter of also being honest with yourself, and we can't do every single style. So be honest with yourself and think about what do you do well, you know, and what are your strengths. I think doing your research is an important thing, you know, knowing some of the people that you're contacting, you know, one music supervisor or one music library that you can work with that, you know, that understands what you do and that you can build a relationship with is maybe stronger than having 15 and just sending them all out there, right? You could get a lot of placements just from one that understands what you do. I think time, you know, people are busy, but if you respect people's time, you know, they'll respect yours. So I think, and part of doing that research is respecting people's time, in my opinion, you know. Having a sounding board, you know, this is a perfect sounding board right here, but having people in your circle that you trust, that, you know, it's easy to just create in a bubble, but it's good to get some feedback, and that's how we grow, I think. So, you know, if you're questioning, is this up to, you know, just a certain quality of, you know, of whether it be arrangement or, you know, just the recording value. I mean, there's people in our, you know, in our community that we can reach out to and ask, and you want to put your best foot forward. So I think relying on our community and the resources that we have, following up in general, just following up with people, you know, you can't just put that email out there and hope they get back to you. You know, again, you want to do it in a respectful way, but following up and making your voice heard. And for me, I think in general, being self-sufficient as you can. You know, there's a lot of tutorials. You know, I find myself watching a tutorial every day, just trying to go, oh, how do I do this again, right? Problem solving. So being, you know, as self-sufficient as you can to put your brand out there, whether that's just learning iMovie or learning a DAW, like a digital audio workstation, learning Logic or GarageBand. It doesn't matter what it is, but, you know, learning those tools in order to get your product out to social media. And I think the last thing is, which we touched upon in the breakout group, is just from my experience, you know, I'm sure there's some people that have gotten some things out of it. But out of all the licensing experiences that I've had, I don't believe that you should have to pay. I understand if you're taking a course, which is different, but I don't feel that anyone should have to pay for the opportunity to submit something. You know, I've never had to do that before. Music supervisor isn't taking your money. I mean, even a music library is still taking a percentage when they make you money, right? They're not asking you to pay money. So I think that's, you know, it doesn't mean that they're all bad, but I just, I would be leery. You know, you want to make sure if you're giving your hard-earned money to someone that it's getting to the right people, you know. I haven't had to pay for that experience, and I honestly don't believe, you know, any of you should either. You know?
This business constantly change, constantly move from one level to another. And right now, it's this online business moved so fast, especially because of the pandemic. But it's not just because of it. It's this pandemic accelerated this. But I think as musicians or as artists at any point of your career, I feel being grounded is very important. First is this self-love, self-esteem, and self-trust. At the same time, reach out for support. This group of women is all individual. At the same time, we all have something in common, being artists and being somebody who use creative voice to express and to address issue. So in that sense, we have a lot of things in common. Don't be afraid of reaching out for help or for support, even just to talk about something technical or with question or without question. Just say hi, and also we support each other's activity. I think that's very important. Another thing I learned was from what Deirdre said. I think it's very wise. It's a two-way. It's a service and a sell. Too often I see a lot of posts are just selling, see me. Then soon you get turned off. People feel really tired. And as an individual, as an artist, definitely service to a bigger goal, our society, even say big to the humanity. And especially nowadays living in, like myself in the States, I feel being a community, being a person give to the society is so much more important right now at this point. Yeah. So, and the last thing I want to say is don't be desperate. This is a long-term plan. Just be in here and take the ride, relax, and do what you need to do. Be diligent, but don't rush. Don't get too anxious to get there. This is a process. Avoid a goal-oriented experience.
Yeah, I just want to build on these sort of community aspects that Mary and May have been highlighting in their closing thoughts. And I want to follow up with some, again, I'm in a really kind of like practical tips mode today. I don't know. I'm actually teaching a course at VCC Music right now called Social Media for Self-Employed Musicians. So that a lot of this stuff is up in my mind. So a few takeaway points for you all. When it comes to marketing, doing espionage on other artists. You can even, after this session, you've shared all of your different accounts in the chat here. We'll share them on the Facebook page. Do espionage on each other's accounts and really study, ooh, what do I like about what they're doing? Okay, what do I like? And take notes, and I like to call it your ideas bank. So we all, artists, creative people, we all need to spy on each other and be inspired by each other. It's not stealing, it's being inspired. So this industry can feel so competitive. You can feel so invisible and so overlooked, especially if you do something that's not quite mainstream, which you all know that's me, right? So what really helps is to see what works for other people and what you can see yourself doing and take it as inspiration. That's a really important mindset to have with all of this, especially when you're looking at social media. Social media can make us feel very down on ourselves. It can really make us compare ourselves to others in unfavorable ways. So we're trying to get rid of that voice, or when we feel that voice coming up, just going, yeah, you're the negative side that's not going to actually help me achieve my goals right now. Try to switch out for the positive voice that goes, what do I like about what this person is doing? What seems to be working for this person? Is there a way that I could adapt it for my own music and my own circumstance and my own context? So doing the espionage and building your ideas bank. And the other thing I want to suggest is actually getting an accountability buddy. Social media is social. So one of the things that I personally find challenging about social media is feeling like I'm just sitting alone in my room being like, oh my God, my life is so boring and it's not what I want it to be because pandemic, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just so isolated and I'm trying to come up with all this like awesome zany content and I just feel so uninspired. So if you have an accountability buddy, it could even be reaching out to somebody from this session and going, hey, do you want to try this? You can even do some artist espionage together, right? You can take notes on, I like to do like analyze somebody's Instagram account and then take notes on it and then chat to somebody else about it. What did you like about their account? What are they doing well? Just kind of have somebody that you can have conversation with and keep the fires burning. Because when we're alone all the time, it can both heighten our creativity and it can also kind of put a damper on it. It's sort of ironic. And then the final thought is just that collaboration online is bigger than ever before, right? So do collaborate with other artists if you can. Like Mary was talking about, making a recording of yourself and sending it to another artist and then having them record over top of it, then releasing, you know, a short clip of that on Insta. These things don't have to be totally polished. They can be just, they're connective. They're showing that you are still a community-based musician. You're still a community-based artist. But you can also collaborate with your audience as well, right? You can crowdsource things. You can do little challenges and things like, you know, hashtag challenges, or you can put out a piece of music and ask your followers to record themselves playing over top of it. If you know that you have a lot of fellow musicians in your audience, that's something that you can do as well. So just keeping some things light, keeping some things fun, keeping some things collaborative, I think right now is going to really help people come along on the ride for you. And again, not always feel like you're selling at them. You're actually legitimately saying, hey, yeah, we're all in this together. So let's see how we can creatively use these platforms to really highlight that.
I'd like to take the time now to properly thank our sponsors, Creative BC, the province of British Columbia, and the Red Chamber Cultural Society. And please visit our website, emergencebc.org, for links to our meetup group, our Facebook group, our YouTube channel, our Instagram and Twitter. And a reminder from our host that because if you derive a lot of value and a lot of knowledge out of these sessions, we'd really appreciate it if you could write a few words in an email, send it to us at emergencebc@gmail.com. It really helps us with our sponsorship, our funders, and you know, being able to increase our outreach. We've actually got some international interest in the format of this program. It would be really wonderful if we could invite greater participation and be able to expand on these offerings. And really appreciate you participating again. And last but not least, I have been meaning to provide a land acknowledgement. So I should have done this at the beginning of the session, that I want to acknowledge that we hosted this on the traditional unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples, the Tsleil-Waututh, the Squamish, and the Musqueam nations. Ever so grateful for being able to live on this wonderful land, and acknowledge that we are all navigating through unprecedented global awareness around cultural histories and the land that we live on. Thanks to you all. Thanks for participating.